Hello and welcome to the 30th episode of Dystopedia. I'm your host Matt Davidson, and once again I'm joined by my colleague Andrew Hodgson.
How are you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm pretty well. Andrew, how are you going today?
I'm pretty good.
How's your week been? Anything fun, exciting happening?
I've been regional this week, but I'll tell you what, something happened to me yesterday. So the past three Uber rides, you know how like on Uber you can sort of set like how you don't want to speak or you don't like talking or something?
Oh, can you do that now?
Yeah,
I haven't taken one for a while. So.
I always had mine set as that, but I swear the last 3 or 4 rides everyone's been talking to me, so I must look into that.
Yeah.
But I've got a story for me. So yesterday I got in at the airport, so I flew back home, and got into an Uber, and the driver started talking to me. I'm like, oh fuck, here we go.
Yeah.
You know,
here's a life story coming.
Yeah. But he was he ended up having like a really good conversation with him, and so now, where are you from, mate? Because he had kind of a the accent to me sounded like Eastern European or possibly Russian or something. He said, "Oh, where are you from?" And he goes, "I'm from China." I said, "Oh, okay." And I said, "Oh, okay. How long you been here for?" And then we were getting on a bit. He goes, "Actually, I'm a Uyghur." He goes,
"Yeah, but I was thinking that when you said that."
Yeah. And he goes, I'm like, "Oh," he goes, "Do you know?" I'm like, "Yeah, actually, I do know of you. I do know what's going on there in the camps and everything in China." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "It's all true."
Oh wow.
And he said, I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's, just chatting about that and just having a really good chat with him." And I said, "What's interesting to me, mate? When I asked where you're from, you said you're from China." I said, "Is there?" He goes, "No, I fucking hate China." Like he's going on, but he's like, "I just say it because it's easy for me to say it," sort of thing. And
people wouldn't know, right?
Yeah. And he was just having a really interesting chat about like in China, the control of information. Now, his family's all over there. He got out when it was looser in 2010, but since Xi Jinping got in...
Yeah, he tightened the ships and made things harder to
get
out.
Full hardline.
And went full censorship, yeah.
Yeah, he was explaining, and then he was telling me, like, their control of information, and he didn't realise until he came here all the stuff that was going on, and he was telling, information is power, that sort of thing. And just a really good chat, and he was sort of... he said to me... I said to him, it's Orwellian. I said, "Have you read 1984? He's like, "No." I said, "Well," wow. I'm like, "Yeah, that would have been on the ban list, wouldn't it?"
I wonder why.
Yeah. And I said, "Mate, it's interesting. It was written in the 40s, and it kind of the very world that you're explaining it's like that in a nutshell." You're in 1984. He goes, "Oh no, I have to buy it and whatnot." Anyway, he got me home. I said, "Wait here, mate. Wait here." And I came in and I got my copy of 1984 and I gave it to him.
Oh, nice.
Just something in me was like, no. Look, I'll buy it again, but he might have forgotten what I've said or whatnot. I'm like, "Here you go, mate. Just take it." It was odd. Anyone listening to this podcast would know I'm quite a miserable bastard, but I don't know. Just these things happen in life sometimes,
Yeah. There you go. That's a great story.
It is a great story. Yeah. It's about time I've had a good story on this intro because you always outdo me on the stories.
Yeah. Well,
what have you done this? Have you read any books or anything?
I've got 2 things I'm going to bring up before we get into the episode. But number one of the funniest humble brags I've ever heard at a work meeting in my life I've ever heard. So
a humble brag?
A humble brag. So it's when you're trying to like say I'm doing a good deed or how good I am, but then you're kind of bragging about it. Kind of like it's referred to as a humble brag. So
I see.
What this we do once a meeting, like the whole company I work for, they do like like over Teams, but you can do it in person as well. But yeah, it's the whole company basically Australia wide, and yeah, we always start with a safety thing about whatever team leads it does a safety thing. I make sure that I wear sunscreen when I go outside or something,
right.
All that kind of stuff. Or I make sure when I cross the street I look both ways, that kind of shit. Well, this guy was going on. What he said was, he goes, in the month of August, I set myself a goal of trying to run an average of 15 kilometers a day. And I was smashing the goal initially. I ran 20 Ks one day, 21 the next day. And I'm way ahead of my target of running 14 K day average. But then I hurt myself halfway through it. And I managed to get there in the end. But, it taught me an important lesson about safety and, not trying to outpace myself. I'm like, you just wanted a fucking excuse to say that you were fucking running 14 Ks a day.
What a fuckwit.
Yeah, I know. I was like... I was like trying not to laugh at what he was talking about.
Was this in Teams or was it?
He was on Teams, but then everyone was in the room listening to him, and people were going, "Oh, what a great, how inspiring!" Or it's like the guy just wanted to brag that he was running 14 Ks a day. It'd be like me saying, I set a goal for myself. I wanted to bench 120 kilos, but then I got to 130, and then I hurt myself, but I persevered and got through to 140. It's actually like, oh fuck off! Like it was like that. I tried not to laugh like the whole time. It was so good. Yeah. Oh, how inspiring. I'm sure he popped up on LinkedIn or something down the track as well.
I hope he did put that on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
and it taught him something about life and
Yeah.
aiming for the stars and ending up in the clouds, you know?
Yeah, but trying to relay that back to safety, I'm like, yeah. But by the way, guys, I run 14K today as well.
Yeah. In many ways, I sort of envy that, but also I wouldn't want to look like a fuckwit.
Yeah. I was just going, seriously, I was trying not to laugh the whole time. I was just like, look at this guy's trying to fucking humble brag about him running and disguising it as safety. Yeah, there you go.
Superb.
Well, another thing I've been reading recently, actually, I briefly mentioned it in last week's episode because the book literally arrived the day we recorded it, but it's called the Draka series or the Domination series. It's written by an author called S.M. Sterling, and it was written in the late 1980s. And the first book is called Marching Through Georgia. And it's set in this alternative history. And the reason why I got onto it was when I was researching stuff for Fatherland, there's a really good YouTuber called Feral Historian, and he does really good breakdowns of dystopian fiction and other movies and books and stuff. And he did one on Starship Troopers and also on Fatherland. And by chance, sometimes the algorithm just plays the next video of his or something.
The algorithm in all its wisdom.
And it played this thing. And I was kind of like, oh, what's this? And then they started talking about the alternative history. I'm like, oh, this sounds really fascinating. So basically what it is, when the American Revolution happens in 1776, as Alex Jones would say.
Will it happen again?
Oh, who knows? Yeah, things way going, who knows? But the people the English settlers in Britain in America who were disenfranchised, they all moved to South Africa and combined with the Dutch there, make a colony, and they start colonizing all of Africa. And then when the American Civil War happens 100 years later in 1865, the losers of the South, they all flee as well to that colony. And they come the Draka Society, and they believe in slavery and militarization and stuff, all this stuff, class systems and shit. And then by the time World War II breaks out, they're letting Hitler and the Russians are going at it, and then Japan about to attack America, and they form a kind of mini alliance with America, so that the Nazis and Russians take each other out, and they invade up through Georgia, through Russian Georgia, not because when you think initially you think Georgia in America, it's it's the Caucasus. So they're going there and wiping out all the Nazis and taking control of it all there and using resources and stuff. And it's really fascinating actually.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's
very complex.
It is complex. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain the timeline. I'm only halfway through the first book, but yeah, it's very military based where they talk about the society and how it came together and using the Boers and the English combining and all this secrets of something. They've all got concubines and all this. It's pretty dark and grim, and how they conquer other places and slavery, and they brainwash the slaves to work for them and form use them as a military operation as well, and then they breed their children to be indoctrinated in military stuff from early age. So they're all raised under the army rule and using army tactics and stuff. That's why they're superior to their other their counterparts and why they can conquer. I mean, realistically, they could never work in real life, but it's just an interesting concept, though. Yeah. So yeah, I've been reading that, and then it's been getting lost in that world.
Sounds pretty cool. I might have to borrow that after you.
Yeah, it's good. It's very military tactic based, like war terms, through all of it. Sometimes you're oh wait, what does that mean again? But then it is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, any listeners out there, give it a read. Yeah. Well, on that interesting note, we'll get into today's topic episode, but. Last week we did Total Recall, which is a classic early 90s nostalgic film for everyone, and in this week's episode we're doing another nostalgic film called Antz that came out in 1998.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago we walked away from
Jesus Christ, we're doing this again, are we?
And when we walked away from Omelas, we ended up at a delicatessen where we met Bartlett Finchley.
Yes, our in the Twilight Zone.
Entered the Twilight Zone, came out of the Twilight Zone, and we found that it was an alternate history.
Yes.
Where the Nazis had won, and then the Nazis were meddling with things they didn't understand, led off a zombie apocalypse.
They did.
And then
it ended up all being a dream. Because we were in the Total Recall.
Total Recall.
Yeah, and then while coming out of there, we noticed that there was a colony of ants down below. There we go.
Fuck it, that'll do.
Yeah. Jesus, yeah, that was... Yeah, maybe we should get ChatGPT to come with it. That was terrible. Yeah. But the movie 1998 film Antz, done by DreamWorks, and... Yeah, but very nostalgic film for me. I remember watching this a lot of times as a kid. But when was the first time you watched it?
I don't remember going to see it at the movies or anything. It must have just been on cable or something. like I've always remembered bits of it, but I never did. I think I would have watched it on TV or something. I just don't remember when. What about you?
Yeah, well, like it's funny because I remember seeing A Bug's Life in cinema as a kid, and that was that controlled the Pixar zeitgeist of that little period of time, and like animated films that were big then. And I had like the Bug's Life game, PS1 game, and I just remember seeing like Bug's Life like yogurts and when you do all those like tie-in stuff at the time.
I do remember that. Yeah,
things like that.
Great time for marketing.
Oh, it was. But I remember seeing Antz, like it was always in like the at Blockbuster, you'd see it somewhere, or you'd maybe see flashes of it on TV of an ad for being on primetime TV or something. But I never watched it really. But I remember at my dad's place, we went to, I think it was at Blockbuster. Remember they have those clearance bins?
Yes.
And it was around, in those good old days. It was when VHS was starting to get phased out and DVD was taking over. And I think, it was a VHS tape of Antz and a couple of other films were in there. I think actually one of the South Parks were in there, actually, if I think of it. Yeah, it was one with Starvin' Marvin and it was that one in the Sally Australia, Starvin'. I mean, the turkey one as well. They were the two in that video set. But they're like $3-4 a pop or something back then. It's so cheap. And Antz was one of them. Yeah, and I remember we watched it, my sister and I would watch it all the time. I always loved it. I just thought, this is really cool. You mesmerized by the action sequences and the story behind it and the stupid humor in it. And I always remember that, like, the silly one-liners, where they go, it's a force field, or or Stallone going, how he talks, that kind of stuff.
Weaver, you still owe me that dinner.
Baby love.
But yeah, and I watched it, so like 10, 20 times as a kid. And then I think I got age 12, 13, you start to mature and you kind of just don't watch those new films anymore. And the first time I've actually watched it since I was a kid was when doing it for this episode. I'm looking back now as an adult going, oh my God, I can't believe how much stuff is in there. Like,
how layered it is.
How layered it is and how like complex but then simple at the same time as well, and how well it articulates what it wants to say and the way it portrays complex issues in a simplistic way that both adults and kids can enjoy.
Yeah, and it does it in like less than an hour and a half as well, which is
like,
an
hour 20.
It's less than a conventional film, really. It's basically a glorified TV episode.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and then when you read the history of it, how it was made, and the war between A Bug's Life and like Disney, Pixar, and DreamWorks, and everything like that, it's just how that the short span of time they got it out. It's just it's amazing. And it was the film that crawled so other stuff could run, basically. So you see like literally 3 years later, Shrek comes out. And we all know how big that franchise is, and it's still going. The rest is history. Yeah, exactly. So no, it deserves its dues and its flowers because it's kind of a bit. Even Bug's Life to a certain degree, it's kind of a bit the forgotten movies. They're like the kind of the ones. Because in Bug's Life's case, it was like in between Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2, so that kind of fell to the wayside. And then obviously later on you had your Monsters, Inc. and the Finding Nemo and things like that, where we had Shrek and then Madagascar came out later, and then Antz kind of became the forgotten one. But then you look too at the cast as well, like so many famous actors were in it too. And
what do we got? Woody Allen, Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, Sylvester Stallone, Christopher Walken. I mean, he doesn't do movies unless they're fucking fantastic.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And then even Dan Aykroyd has a cameo in it.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd, Jennifer Lopez.
Lopez. Yeah. Taco. Yeah.
Burrito, taco, burrito, taco, don't think just because I got a lot of money, I'll give you taco flavored kisses, honey. Fulfill all your wishes with my taco flavored kisses. Taco, burrito, taco.
Sweet, there's a South Park reference.
Yeah, even like Danny Glover, like it's great. No, just a great mix of cast and no one over. I mean, Woody Allen can be a bit annoying after a while, but they don't. Like, he doesn't over. It's not to the point where you're like, I can't watch it anymore. It's part of his charm, I guess, isn't it?
It's a bit like Carl's cousin, is he?
Yeah, a little bit, isn't it? Yeah, it's a bit like that.
Hello, Aunt Sheila.
How was your flight?
Oh, it was terrible. They recycled the air on board, and it really did a number on my asthma. I asked them to turn up the oxygen, and they wouldn't.
But yeah, I think the person that steals the show for this film is definitely Gene Hackman as General Mandible. Like such a ruthless.
I think in the
detailed
context of this episode, that was the one I was like, Jesus Christ.
yeah.
He's using this like body politic rhetoric and going ethnic cleansing and kind of like using the system
Eugenics as well.
Eugenics, playing like 4D chess, and you're like, oh,
creating false flag operations. You're like, oh wow.
Like, oh, fucking hell.
Oh, yeah.
This is heavy.
Yeah, and we were talking off air about it too. Like I forgot how kind of brutal it was in that, especially the termite scene. Just how you're seeing, them spiking them and the green. Even though it's not real blood, but the green guts comes out and stuff. It's still very graphic for a kids movie.
But it's the march to war. When like the ants go marching one by one, and you're like,
I'll insert it.
The ants go marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. We slaughter termites just for fun, hurrah, hurrah.
Yeah,
but you're watching it like even now, it's sort of giving me goosebumps. There's a bit of like these lads marching to war, and it's like
onwards to victory kind of thing.
But
yeah,
the gloriousness of it, or the glorification of it. But I think you were saying before how it kind of reminded you of like Starship Troopers and that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like the way it uses propaganda, but you feel for these guys, like they're just they're
just lambs to the slaughter. We mentioned it quite a bit, but like they're cogs in a machine, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're the military machine in this case. But I love the way it's filmed too, where they're marching, they're rising through the anthill and going down the slope as well. And you're seeing the moonlight and stuff. It's very like it's like eerie, but then also like that kind of makes you want to go, come on, lads, get into it. Yeah,
but it's that like it evokes memories of. There's a scene in or there's that quote in Fight Club that always resonated with me when I think Tyler Durden, what does he say? like, we're the forgotten generation. We got no great war. We got no nothing to prove ourselves. We're very, very angry. It's almost like that feeling of like, it's certain death for these guys, but it's like that glory of fuck, we're gonna do it anyway. Like that, I don't know. There's something about that.
Yeah, it's like this is our time to shine, or this is our time to go down in history for something. Yeah.
And I guess that's what that's how governments kind of sell you, and get you all riled and get you all riled up and stuff, and they kind of sell you that thing of like war kind of
rhetoric and
but I guess war kind of gives sort of what's the word I'm looking for? It gives sort of meaning to us or something. Like it just
feels like you're fighting for something, or striving for you're defending your clan and your honor and their honor as a nation or as a colony in this case.
Like as a bloke, it feels like that you have to prove that. I don't know what that is, but you look throughout history and we glorify it in society.
Well, it's ingrained in our DNA, isn't it? It's basically back to tribalism, right? It's what resonates. And it's funny with this film too. It's just like I'm watching the opening scene. Obviously, when he was doing the psychology on the couch with the psychiatrist or whatever it is. But then it cuts out and shows you the whole colony, and you just see like propaganda everywhere, like work hard or conform or whatever it is, or hard work pays off. It's for the greater good. Yeah, it's just little subtleties like that in a film. For kids' films, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, it is, and there's fantastic attention to detail all the way through, which we'll get into obviously when we go into production and everything. Which we should probably get into the making of the film before we start bouncing off into the themes. I think.
Oh, absolutely, because you can do this for this film, bloody hell.
Yeah.
So I reckon we'll break down the making of the film into two parts. So we'll just do like this the normal like production and getting the cast involved in the making. Then we'll break into the second part where it's against DreamWorks versus Disney, A Bug's Life versus Antz, because the backstory, the spite, I was so enthralled and intrigued by it. It's like a soap opera.
Yeah,
it's fucking fascinating.
Yeah,
and they're trying to outdo each other, and it's so petty as well. It's fantastic.
No, it is a lot of time for that on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, some people declare war for spite. So yeah. So Antz was DreamWorks' first computer animated projects, and it got into production around 1994. And with around the time DreamWorks was founded, and this was founded by Steven Spielberg and Jeffrey Katzenberger. So remember that name down the track because it's very important to the story. And he recently left Disney, and we'll go into later, on pretty bad terms. And he wanted to kind of prove that there can be a rival to Disney, and they don't have the monopoly on the animation / CGI kind of genre and market. So the film was animated by PDI, which is Pacific Data Images, a CG studio DreamWorks had partnered with and later fully acquired. So this became its own in-house feature animation pipeline. down the track for a lot of other stuff.
Funny story, Pacific Data Images. They had some early, they did some early work, most notably. So they were kind of pioneers in this sort of early CGI. But most notably, you would probably know the Treehouse of Horror episode. That 3D episode.
Yeah, the two directors of Antz, Eric Darnell and Tim Johnson, they were the directors of that. That's why they use them for being directors of this film as well. So it makes sense. Yeah.
And there's always, look, I'm not the biggest Simpsons fan, but obviously I appreciate it. But I always remember that episode. I was like, "Fuck, that's weird." Like, it would have been groundbreaking for the time.
Oh, when your Homer enters the wormhole and then goes that, then he ends up being in our world. Yeah, that was so bizarre, wasn't it?
Yeah. But that was fucking ahead of its time.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, we've come a long way, like for animation, but as you said, like for the '90s, that would have been pretty groundbreaking. Yeah. So when they came up with the characters, the design, the tone of the film, they wanted to make it more like realistic. Like the ants had more, human features as opposed to just being like, oh, there's normal ants and creatures. So you can kind of see like, the Sylvester Stallone ant bug looks like, you can kind of see his face there. Same with Sharon Stone, same with Z as Woody Allen as well. So kind of make it more, I guess it makes it more relatable as the audience to sympathize and be part of like, understand their trials and tribulations, stuff like that. So, and they wanted to focus more on it being heavily into satire, adult humor, and political allegories, right? So the film is lived through it. So it kind of wanted to branch away from, Pixar, Disney image of where, good versus evil just for the sake of it. And there's a bit like old Lord Zed, there's evil for the sake of being evil kind of thing. So
I won't hear that on Lord Zed. He's a complex character.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah. They wanted to create an experience too that both kids would enjoy and adults would enjoy. So I could imagine, like, say, like, I don't know, if I had kids and I took them to see a movie, because some movies you're like, oh, this is going to be painful to watch or whatever. But then I'd go in probably enjoy it more than the kid would. Like, it's just, and it's one where like, oh, yeah, it ticks both boxes for everyone. I think also too, like, this is what Toy Story did very well. Like, it appealed to both people, both demographics. So,
but I think this was the groundbreaking film that showed that animation could be for adults, couldn't it? Like an animated film,
exactly.
Like it could, as you say, it could do both.
Yeah. This was the pioneer of that. So another groundbreaking thing this film did as well. Kind of around the same time as A Bug's Life as well, was that they casted big name Hollywood actors to voice the characters. Where this wasn't a common thing back then. It was always certain typecast actors would do voice acting for cartoons, or they do dubs or whatever for for animations from Japan and stuff. So they really honed in on that I said earlier, they got Woody Allen that played the lead character, Sharon Stone. Like she was massive in the '90s, fresh off Casino.
Yeah, actually, apparently. Sarah Jessica Parker actually recorded. She was meant to play the character that Sharon Stone plays, Princess Bala.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. No.
And she recorded a couple of days worth of voiceover, and they just decided it didn't work. And then Sharon Stone came in, and they rerun the lines and everything. So it's interesting, like another '90s heavyweight,
Yeah, I think you mentioned also off air that Corporal Weaver was meant to be played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, wasn't he? Or...
Well, supposedly, I think the directors wanted Schwarzenegger, and I think they engaged with his agent, and they'd sent over a quote. And so the story goes, Stallone kind of undercut them or something. There's always a rivalry between those two, wasn't there? Yeah. And I don't know. I like Stallone in it, but I can't help think we might have been robbed with another Arnie, some great Arnie one-liners, but...
Yeah, like
it could have worked either way.
Then because he's pretty much a side character though, so he's not like the folk. I guess I think Stallone is better. His acting he's got better. I think it's an episode like he's better. He's more diverse than Schwarzenegger. So he is better. I guess it's him. I guess, but then at the same time, it's more immersive him doing it as opposed to Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he'd just be like, I want to do this. You know what I mean? Just like...
And, well, you say that there's something wrong with it. What's...
Yeah, well, I want to believe in this society. And then fucking Arnie's there doing his one-liners. I'm not going to believe it.
Well, all right. Working Total Recall.
That's true, I guess so.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
The version we get is probably good, but I don't know. I'd like to enter that parallel universe to see what Arnie's one was like.
Well, here's another one for you.
I just think we've been robbed of some more one-liners.
Could you see Sylvester Stallone playing Mr. Freeze?
Ooh, no.
No,
fuck
no. But yeah, like this, as we said earlier, this kind of trend of hiring celebrity voice casting became a main trope of DreamWorks, especially like when Shrek came out, who they had like Mike Myers, Eddie's Peak, Cameron Diaz, Eddie Murphy. I think it was John Lithgow played Lord Farquaad, I think, from memory. Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, and it was those four, and then that came the common thing going forward. And then I think we saw Ben Stiller do Madagascar, and this became the common theme that we'd see through DreamWorks.
Yeah, they all wanted to get involved then, didn't they?
Yeah, it kind of like it broke the ground then, because it wasn't seen as like a kind of downgrade thing. It kind of became a thing where it's actually you think about it too. It'd be a lot easier than acting on set, wouldn't it? Because you just go to a recording booth.
Yeah, and you could do it in a few days or something. But supposedly Woody Allen hated it. I think it was the first and last one he did. He could not stand it.
Well, he's that old school actor. He had a massive theatre background too. I imagine he's the type that needs to, be the character and act it out and bounce off other people. But some people can't do it in a booth just reading lines,
Yeah.
Well, I guess too, this was also just before when, that happened in video games as well, when, San Andreas, Vice City started doing it, they got Ray Liotta in and doing Tommy Vercetti.
Even Danny Trejo was in it as well.
Danny Trejo, all those great actors, So they started doing that stuff. And then obviously with San Andreas later on, you got Samuel L. Jackson and a couple of others as well. So it's fantastic. So basically the cartoons and video games became more mainstream, more like accepted in the main culture, in the zeitgeist. So... No, it's definitely a trendsetter in that way, this film.
Look, I think also what I do want to say, I was listening to Tim Johnson actually talk about the film, and he was saying I think the level of detail was really, I really do appreciate, even in the beginning, they were very much conscious of the fact that ants on average have about an 8-week lifespan. So there's little bits of it in the movie, where it references to this, most notably I think when General Mandible's he's meant to marry Princess Bala, and she's like, "Oh, have you got a time for me?" He's like, "Oh, I can spare a couple of seconds." It's just all in these little bits, it's all relative to an ant, and time. And I appreciate that attention to detail. They really obviously they veered off a little bit here and there, but even with the way when you see the shoe move. And how slow it would be, to an ant, what that would look like. Yeah,
Same with the fly swatter.
Yeah. It's all in I guess the way an ant would see it in the time that's going, because time would be slower, right?
Yeah.
Relatively speaking. So yeah.
When you look at ants on the ground, they're moving like so quickly as well. And they got quicker reflexes. And other little quirk stuff as well, where. When he's talking to the psychologist and he's complaining about, I can only carry 10 size my own weight. Because ants can carry, I think it's 30 times their own weight, I think it is. Yeah, there's little funny, little quirks that in the film. No, it's a nice little touch there. And
stuff. A lot of just I guess that detail is you wouldn't think it would matter in something, but I appreciate them doing that,
Yeah, absolutely. And then also too, the queen ant is pumping kids out left, right, and center and getting blessed or whatever it was at the start, and yeah. Or even the part too with him and Weaver talking, they're saying, "Oh, you were born, was it 1 second after me?" kind of thing. We're basically brothers or something like that. Yeah. So you can imagine them being sorted at the table, you get given a sickle, or you got
that's
a mining thing, or
the caste system.
We'll get to that later, but it's interesting. All right, well that completes part one of the making of the film, where we just went to just a bit of the backstory in the animation section, but now comes the real juicy section. Yeah, the massive fallout with Katzenberger and Disney and Eisner and all this stuff. So I'll give a bit of a brief history and breakdown of it. So rumor goes is that Pixar began developing A Bug's Life in the early 1990s, and it was inspired by Aesop's fable The Ant and the Grasshopper. So the concept evolved into a story about an ant named Flick, an invented misfit, blah blah blah, and the project was greenlit in 1995. So then, when DreamWorks did that, they were founded in 1994. Jeffrey Katzenberg came with a similar idea, and because he wanted to challenge, as we touched on earlier, Disney's dominance in animation. So Katzenberg was a key figure at Disney during the animation renaissance. So, when The Little Mermaid, Lion King, Aladdin, and stuff.
Beauty and the Beast. I think it was all those.
Doing this old
animation remake sort of things.
Fairy tale stuff kind of things. Yeah, so he was a big part of that. But it basically boils down to Katzenberg was promised a role from Eisner in the late 80s, I think it was, early 90s, when this other executive passed away.
I think it was Disney president Frank Wells.
Frank Wells, that's it. Yeah, sorry, Frank Wells. And when the role was given to someone else, he felt personally betrayed and undercut and disenfranchised with the whole thing, and just felt like he got screwed out of the role.
And I think there was a lot of supposedly he later settled for like 250 million in like and sued for like unpaid bonuses. So there's all this stuff going on in the background as well.
Very bitter fallout.
Yeah.
And you can see like he wanted to basically make Disney pay down the track for what happened, and spite can create great things, can it? Yeah.
And middle finger up to Disney. I think we like that on this podcast. We've got a lot of time for that on this podcast.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So then, with his bitter, he used that bitter and anger, went to the dark side, used that bitter and anger, and met with Spielberg and decided he's going to rival Disney and try and put him out of business. And that's when DreamWorks was founded in 1994. So where it comes from here is that insiders allege that Katzenberg learnt about a bug's life while he was still at Disney. So he knew that there was some backstory and stuff like that. And it was an idea that was pitched during Pixar ones. So after joining DreamWorks, he allegedly fast-tracked the completion of Antz and created a separate project for itself. But then apparently he's denied this thing. So
the plot sort of thickens here. So what had happened? I think knowing this, that like, I think on the surface Disney were like, we all don't mind a healthy competition, but supposedly so they knew that I think DreamWorks' first project to come out was The Prince of Egypt, which I think was lined up for
99, wasn't it?
December 1998.
Oh,
knowing this, Disney set A Bug's Life for late 1998. So they sort of fired the
Thanksgiving,
they fired the first shots on this one. And they did it on the same. They sort of set it on the same weekend. They wanted to split the audience and kind of weaken DreamWorks' first release. And I always find this funny. You know how like Disney would portray themselves as the good versus evil, and we stand for all good in the world, and everything's innocent and everyone's happy and walking hand in hand together. But they're sort of playing these they're throwing their weight around and using these bullying tactics. The very thing that they sort of portray a bad guy doing in their films. You know what I mean? It's very ugly at the top, isn't it? But and that's where I think Katzenberg gets a shits and he retaliates. So he fires back, and I think as what you're saying, he knows he fast tracks Antz. He goes, "Fuck you, then I'm gonna beat you with this," you know?
Yeah. I think that was like in the aftermath, but like it was kind of they learned about the production of Antz during 1995. And then they alleged, I think it was John Lasseter alleges that, he stole the idea, which he vehemently denies. And even he got involved because Steve Jobs was part of Pixar back then, and he publicly called him out for stealing their idea and copyright and all this kind of stuff. And and then it ended up being a real bitter battle between the two of them. I think what you mentioned that because their first one was meant to be The Prince of Egypt coming out in holiday time 1999, and then they put A Bug's Life for at the end of 1998, they put Prince of Egypt, and then they undercut them for Thanksgiving in November. So then he's just gone a double FU. I'm going to put the movie that's being basically plagiarized of Bug's Life and put it out like in the summer blockbuster for 1998. Like just to
And it was so aggressive in the sense that apparently a normal Disney schedule for like these sort of animations was like 4 years. And that was the thing at the time, he cut this down to, they had to do this in 2.5 years. And a lot of the stuff they were doing was new.
Oh, it's groundbreaking.
They were like, PDI, who we spoke about before, was like, it was almost like you were building the plane whilst flying it. It was just like, they would kind of like, just this absolute trial by fire. It's amazing the movie got out, and it's even more amazing that the movie's as good as it was.
Yeah,
it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, because Antz was meant to come out like mid to late 1999. Like, like he fast tracked pretty much almost like 18 months worth of it, like just to get it out just for spite. It's great.
Yeah. And even you listen to people on the production team, and like supposedly Z's character took about for an in-house team took like 10 months to design.
Wow.
So God knows how the rest of it did. It took like one team 10 months to get that right, and you just like, I don't know how he did it, and God knows the conditions they would have worked on. Apparently, he was using a lot of cash bonuses and all sorts of stuff to get it out.
We talk about crunch time and like the production of video games. Imagine the crunch time there to get that out.
Yeah, I'd love to see the work culture would have been like that.
Yeah, working 18 hours a day or something. Yeah, you sleep at the desk and away you go again. Yeah. I know that's a fascinating story, isn't it?
But all in the name of spite, and spite, as you say, you can make you do wonderful things.
Absolutely, and it never really got resolved as well. They still I think they still hate each other to this day, don't they? They're resentful and. But I think Katzenberg has since left DreamWorks. He's not there. I think he tried to start his own company or something, but it didn't amount to much. But I just love the fact that because he felt screwed over, he tried to screw them over, but then he ended up screwing over other people who were working at Disney, had nothing to do with Eisner's decision as well, and then kind of like, you know, allegedly stole their idea, and just like, it's all complicated.
But in actual fact, I guess the movies on the surface look similar, but they're not really, are they? In terms of what the story, what they're saying?
It's funny, I watched A Bug's Life as well in preparation for this, and the concept is very similar. Like, you know, it's a colony of ants, and where one's about in A Bug's Life, they're getting they farm food for grasshoppers for like quote unquote protection from other insects, and the main antagonist like knocks that thing over, and then the grasshoppers have to keep them in line, and they venture out to get like bugs to attack them. But where this one's more about, yeah, an evil general within the colony. Yeah, it's similar, but not. I wouldn't say it's identical though. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's just interesting that they came out, literally 6 weeks apart, and we've talked about earlier how similar films like this in the past, where, you know, you got your fail safes and Doctor Strangelove and stuff like that.
That would be the most famous, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, no one knows fail safe. You know, it's kind of like
fail safe's the better film in my
opinion. I agree
as
well. Yeah, I think definitely it's a better film. And in this case, obviously, Bug's Life did better at the box office, and it's probably better remembered in the archives because it's got that Disney badge to it and Pixar. But I definitely would argue Antz is a lot better.
Yeah, okay. I'm guessing. Look, I've seen A Bug's Life, but I can't really remember it. But
yeah,
I'm guessing it would have been more.
Well, it's kiddie. Yeah, it's more
kids, right?
It's kids, right? So it's it's got a lot of kids humor, and there's not too many underlying like there is themes here and there, but not the social commentary that Antz has got. So
the thing that I like with Antz is like it doesn't, not condescending or anything, and it doesn't preach, but it also doesn't dumb anything down for anyone.
Yeah. I like it too, because it takes pot shots at both like fascism, communism, capitalism, everything. Yeah, but it doesn't say what's right and what's wrong in certain. I mean, it does a little bit here and there, but it was more about it's kind of got that as you said, like utilitarianism into it, where it's like the greater good for the ant colony, right?
Yeah.
It's that crazy backstory, and just I said earlier, like I never realized how much spite was involved with the creation of it.
Yeah.
So I remember as a kid thinking it was odd that there was two similar concepts, animated movies coming about the same, but it all makes sense now why it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'll compare to both the reception critically from both the audience and the critics, and then also the revenue as well it was made, and then also like retrospectively as well. So overall, the critics were very positive about Antz when it was released. They said it for being witty, sophisticated, daring, compared to like most of the other animated films at the time. Its Rotten Tomatoes score was 92, and its Metacritic was 72. So a lot of people, like Roger Ebert, they call it, extraordinary in the way it translates adult ideas into the medium of animation. So, as we said earlier, very groundbreaking. People praise the cast. Obviously, people who are a fan of Woody Allen liked his neurotic playing Z, and then also Gene Hackman as the General, and Sharon Stone as well as with that. And while people said that A Bug's Life is the better looking film, and I definitely agree that it has aged better, but still it was very groundbreaking, very ahead of its time, and it flowed well, so that people were very praised of that.
Sorry to cut in there. It's funny. I read that and I wrote down in my notes, like I wrote down, I was listening to someone talk about it. I wrote down, A Bug's Life is the better looking film, and I think I wrote something down to that as a point I wanted to make, like, who gives a fuck what it looks like? Yeah. It's what it's saying that's more important,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's true.
And I don't think that should be used to sort of say that it's better than this, but people do, right? Like
look at Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were like some criticisms of the film. They said like some critics felt the ants looked a bit awkward, unappealing. There are some certain aspects of it now looking back on it where
it hasn't aged great.
It hasn't aged, yeah. It does look like a bit of a Microsoft Windows fucking animated project in Microsoft Paint at times, the polygons and stuff. Yeah, you know what I mean?
And I mentioned the shoes walking before on the flights. It does. It definitely does. But it adds a charm for me.
Yeah, I'm happy to let that pass. It's not like it doesn't break the immersion, or doesn't like you don't think that looks fake or something,
No, but a good story should never break the immersion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely. But other people criticise too that it kind of relies a bit too much on Woody Allen's persona, the neurotic, cynical, like intellectual humour. He has that thing he's got on him. I mean,
I disagree, but yeah,
it's a bit. I think in this film it's toned down a lot compared to other films he's in, so I didn't find it too overbearing or annoying or anything.
No, but I reject the fact that he's the one that carries it, or it relies too much on him at all, because there's so much more going on,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe that's just retrospective. When you're looking at it, you're taking it at face value at the time, and we've got the benefit of hindsight, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Definitely. So the general audience reaction to A Bug's Life was that many adults said they loved it, appreciating the dark humor, satire, references to war, class struggle, blah blah blah. But a lot of parents were divided on it. Some praised like the animation, and then also too, it wasn't too talking down to kids as well, like preaching about you must be a good person because good people are good. It doesn't do that too much of that. But then others complained it was too violent, too suggestive, and too cynical for children. Please think of the children kind of people. Yeah.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
They felt like it was more, it should have been a bit more lighthearted, like A Bug's Life is kind of thing. So worldwide, the box office, it had a $60 million budget and it made $171 million. So the way people try and see if a film is profitable is that you double its budget and whatever that is after that. So it made then, if you do that, so $120 million, that would have to make to break even. So yeah, it made about $40-50 million, which is pretty good back in those days. So, and retrospectively too, people talk about the cultural impact of the film. So people say it didn't have the same staying power as other, like Toy Stories or other films like that. But it has since gained recognition as being very underrated and a bold experiment in CGI animation. And people really appreciated that it's more adult-oriented themes and stuff like that. So yeah. And yeah, so just quickly to say what people said about Bug's Life. So Bug's Life, people gave it 92, ironically on 92 as well on Rotten Tomatoes. And yeah, praised for its visuals, imaginative storytelling, technical polish, seen as a very classic family film, charming, safe, fun for the whole family type of film. And some people felt, some of the criticism people had of it was that it felt very formulaic compared to what Pixar did previously and then what it would do later on. So it's very basic kind of storyline compared to like a Toy Story or your Monsters Inc. and things like that. So the basic breakdown how critics looked at it at the time was that people admired Antz for its brain and daring satire, and A Bug's Life had that that heart polish and family appeal. So that's the way it kind of gets broken down to is when you compare the two. So as a kid, I would have probably thought, I would have been drawn to A Bug's Life initially, but then as an adult and retrospectively, like Antz is definitely for me the better film. Like I feel that definitely.
Yeah, and I haven't watched A Bug's Life in the lead up to this, but I dare say I'd be saying the same thing. But I kind of feel like watching it now, so I probably will.
Yeah. I'd say Bug's Life's got also a lot of that that kiddie slapstick humor to it. After a while, it's like okay, it gets a bit annoying after a while, like
typical sort of Disney
stuff. Yeah, and just relying on silly one-liners and look, he fell over, kind of shit. Yeah,
nuance.
No nuance, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the Bugs Wars that were going on back in the late 90s, and people go like, it was bitter and. Millions of dollars were spent on lawsuits and, massive fallout stuff. But it ended up being a great thing to happen because it created a rival to Pixar and to Disney, and then it meant that they had to pick up their game if they wanted to be good going forward. And in the track record speaks for itself for the films that came out after this time period, like classic Pixar and DreamWorks films. Like,
I mean, we talk about we've talked about the breakup of NWA, but look at the amount of diss tracks that came out.
Oh, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Dre doing his thing, Eazy-E doing his thing, Ice Cube doing his thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they all hated each other, but God, it was good for music.
Oh, it's fantastic, yeah. And the same with Piggy and Tupac as well. They were doing their diss stuff as well.
Yeah. I mean, that probably went a bit far, but...
maybe a little bit, yeah.
Music was good, though.
Yeah. Oh, it's for the greater good. Yeah.
Utilitarian logic.
Exactly, yeah.
So let's get into the movie and let's start talking about some of our favourite scenes or the most important ones that we think we'll have a bit of a discussion on the themes and everything. But before we do, what are we drinking, Matt?
We're on the old American beers at the moment, so we're drinking Coors.
From the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah, I don't mind Coors. It's not too bad, is it?
Yeah, I like Coors. I mean, I couldn't tell you what it doesn't really taste like anything, but it's pretty smooth. And for some reason, it's one of these. If I see it on tap, I'm kind of always drawn to it. Like there is a. It's not pissy, but there is a sort of fuller flavour, but it's very neutral without being boring. I
prefer it over Budweiser, to be honest, if I had a choice.
You prefer it over the king of beers?
Yeah, I do, yes. Well, actually, if I had a choice out of all of the American beers, I do like Miller. That's not too bad.
Miller's pretty good.
Yeah.
Not Pabst.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, I get bloody PTSD from drinking Pabs when I was in America, or in Canada as well. Fuck.
Oh, did you have a few heavy nights on it, did you? Or?
Yeah, I was just, because it was so cheap and easy to grab as well. Like in America, you buy it for like $1 or something, one of those bloody long necks. You're like, Jesus.
It costs you about $40 for 4 of them here.
Yeah, I know. Over there, it's freaking... You can buy like a 24 pack for $10 or something. It's ridiculous.
So, I think the first scene, straight into it, this really got me. You know, in the opening kind of therapy scene when it goes into that room, and I think Z says at the beginning, like, what does he say? I feel insignificant. Like he's like having this existential crisis. When I think as a kid, probably watching that, that would have just like.
Oh, it goes over your head.
It would have just been filler, right?
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't think like, oh yeah, it's just a plot device, or this is what's happening here. But I guess, I mean, as a kid, I suppose you're told you can kind of be anything. So the idea of being kind of trapped or small or like that, it wouldn't really resonate. But I don't know. Like you either think of the '90s cultural backdrop, or I think existentialism is probably a tale as old as time, right? I think as humans, we're probably always going to feel like that because we've either got the blessing or a curse of kind of being aware. So like we're always going to have those thoughts. I guess all of us at one point, no matter what period, would have probably always thought, oh, am I meant to be here, or am I doing what I should be doing? Yet at one time or another, I think we all kind of go through that.
Yeah, especially too because we know our own mortality as well. So
yeah,
it kind of touches on that, doesn't it? Especially when we lose purpose or a point, like then you get that existential crisis. We're like, oh, what am I doing with my life? What's going on? What's the end game? What's the whole point of this? Yeah.
Whereas, and as the movie breaks out, and you start to see, obviously, ants colonies by the very nature would probably be there. You know, there's a caste system, but everyone's got their place, and you know, it explores that a little bit more. But I guess bringing that kind of, you know, he's like a square peg in a round hole, and he kind of would be. But also, like, you think of the '90s cultural backdrop when, you know how like we've spoken about it in a few episodes, how the Western world, this is really then when, you know, the '80s probably saw the last of us, like, outsourcing a lot of mechanical labor and stuff to the Far East, and a lot of that industry went over to the service industry, and you're sort of seeing, like, I don't know, you're sitting in offices and taking phone calls and pushing papers around and going to meetings, and you would kind of have that, like, people were becoming sort of faceless cogs in cubicles or call centers.
This is when everyone had, like, when computers were taking off big time as well. Every office, cubicle had a computer there, desk closed off, and you just it's a cog in the machine, basically, right? Yeah,
and I wonder if a lot of this existentialism actually came in at that time. You know, where like films like we briefly touched on in a few episodes ago, like, like Office Space and stuff. They kind of captured this.
I guess too, just thinking about it, it was a time, the '90s, where there was the Americans defeated. In their minds, they defeated the Soviet Union, which I guess they did. But it felt like, there's no more conflict, or there's no more. We defeated.
We've got no one to compare ourselves to
now. And this is the end. People quote it was the end of history, right? Where they had that mindset.
Yeah, there was a book, Francis Fukuyama, The End of History and the Last Man, that actually talks about this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the genuine belief that we won, we're going to all walk off into the sunset.
Yeah, we're all going to hold hands in the world. We're going to have world peace, and and then with that kind of mentality and thinking as well, is that it brings up, well, if there's no enemy, there's nothing to strive for, there's nothing to fight against, there's nothing to, aspire to be. Then this is where the existential crises pop up.
Well, that Tyler Durden quote from Fight Club, right there, it makes you think those things. Like, we're very, very angry. We've got nothing to prove ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. There's no. I guess in this universe of ants, it's like there is, like, you're born into your role and you do that to the day you die. Where, like, in this case, where he's kind of like, I can't fit into this world where everyone else is. There must be something wrong with me.
Yeah, and I think when you think seeing it as an adult, me seeing it now, mid-30s. I'm like, Jesus, like it really, that struck a chord with me, because I think we inevitably have those feelings. I guess we're all told that we can be what we want to be, and that, I guess, that's the great sort of lie of capitalism, right? We all need to believe we can be billionaires, but the truth is there can only be so many. But that kind of keeps us, striving, and money keeps us going, and we you could be what you want to be, when in actual fact you can't. A lot of us would just settle, right? We'd just be like, fuck, all right, well, I don't remember what I wanted to be. Actually, in actual fact, I still don't know what I want to be. But you just do what you do. You fall into a role, and you're good at it, and you get a good paycheck, and you just go on with it. But those feelings of, like, what's the word I'm looking at? Those feelings of frustration when you're just like, fuck, should I be doing this? Like, we're all, and I think, as I say, that if you think of the cultural backdrop in the '90s, that really would have been that would have amplified that. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Or it's kind of also too, just on that, you think, 5 years time, I'll be doing something bigger and better than you in the same role 5 years later, and nothing's changed, and then
Treading water.
But then you've actually lost all hope and aspirations as well. Like, who gives a shit? Like, you know what I mean? It gets like that, yeah.
That Mark Twain quote
yeah.
might be creeping in again.
Yeah, it is. He's getting that territory, isn't it?
But this would have hit. I reckon this would have hit. You know, you're talking about like parents reviewing the movie. This would have hit.
Oh,
this
yeah,
would have
they
hit
would
hard.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
And I think actually you were mentioning there was a lot of that therapy culture at the time, right?
Yeah, well, that's when I guess like you're seeing it in films, and it's kind of coming the mainstream too of like, it was where, if you got issues, you go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist kind of coming in. You sit on the couch and telling me about your life's problems and stuff. Because back then, in the 60s, 70s, even the 80s, you didn't talk about your mental health. You didn't discuss those things. They were, that's private business, or it was kind of seen as a weakness or something wrong with you, or you send someone off to the mental asylum, whatever it is. So, and also too, I guess psychology and psychiatry is good money back in those days as well.
I guess it's been commoditized.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, how they start off that scene. I remember seeing as a kid, you see a lot of those always parodied in those comedy movies or kids movies where someone's sitting on a couch and tell me about your father, tell me about your mother, and then the psychologist just writing stuff down. Like So there's a nice little parody there.
It's just doing so much. Like, it goes on for what you find out about the society, like how he would be feeling like that. He would be feeling like a square peg in a round hole, but then the way it's probably critiquing the culture at the time and just doing everything in you. And then you think about the rush schedule of this and how they're thinking of, like, you would think they would just forget to throw something like this in. It just...
Yeah. Well, I think, the people that, wrote the scripts and stuff like, and obviously, they knew what they were doing. They're visionaries or pioneers. They understood what they want, the message they want to get out of the film as well. So, sometimes you get those mad geniuses that can just pump things out and then it just somehow makes sense. But I think we've touched on another episode as well. Sometimes when you got tight deadlines, like that's when the best work gets done, because there's no, we'll do it in 3 months' time, or that's 6 months away.
Is that not why the South Park boys just do it?
Yeah,
they give themselves a week to do every episode.
Yeah, because much crunch time, you need an episode out, or you need this out by this date. Like, there's no ifs, no buts. Like, it puts the pressure on.
You have to find a way.
You got to find a way. So then they can end up being to be the best ways.
Yeah.
So there could be a bit of that as well. So it works in its favor, definitely. Yeah. Until just after this, the psychiatry scene too. I love the way when it pans out and you're seeing the whole ant colony. So you're seeing the workers, they're mining the dirt, and then also the soldiers are training. They've got they're with the bayonets or swords, wherever it is. And then kids when they're born, they're either assigned, they're done comedically, where they literally, they give them either a pick or the helmet for being a soldier. And then, there's no ifs or buts or, I don't want to be that. No, that's your assigned role for life. And then they move them on and train them up. So you're seeing the scenes too where they're done comedically as well. Arch your back and twist and turn, and this is how you pick properly. And and same with the soldiers doing the same thing. I really like that part.
Yeah, it's very like, I suppose you would have just finished like reading Brave New World, but it's like that social engineering and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All the alphas and the betas and that stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think like the element like the caste system and control as well. Like it kind of like it's doing that whole thing of like the communism critique. But I also think sprinkled through, there's always little elements of like, like corporate doublespeak as well, where there'll be like, obviously, the fixed roles, but there's literally like, there's no deviation. So you see like this punishment for stepping out of line, when like Z steps out of line, or, I think he says when Weaver's talking to him, he's like, oh, you could be punished or got thrown in jail for just even thinking about being a soldier. Like, there's all these these Orwellian themes dropping in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and...
There's also that scene too when Weaver and Jennifer Lopez's character backchats the superior, and then he cuts her food rations off. Yeah, just things like that, little things like that. You're out of line, out of order, you get punished.
Yeah, and it's they will clamp down on it. But like the Hollywood angle, like we praised the film before about for being like for having a dig at everyone, but they always sort of do. You can't help but deep down think Hollywood, by its very nature, is always trying to sort of reinforce capitalism and say, communism bad.
Yeah.
But this one, I guess it does it a little bit, but it kind of it does throw a bit of shade at everyone too.
Yeah, it touches it. Yeah, that's what I kind of like. And it does do it a little bit. Where it's like, Yeah, fascism bad, communism bad, democracy only way forward. Yeah, good. Good. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I guess by its very nature, it's sort of it's got to sell tickets, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it got to know its audience. Yeah.
no, but there was a bit, when you were talking about the foreman who was like cutting the rations. There's flashes because you see the bits at the start. I think what's he saying to him, like, oh, you're not just a number. We're all family, and they're like that corporate shit that like you would like. He's like, oh no, you're not just a number. We're all family, but then he's kind of enforcing a system that kind of like that makes sure you are a number as well. Like selling that lie. You know how like you'll be sitting at work where fucking every company sort of they mistake or they mistake their values as like a few lines on an about page. And he's like, oh, let's just put that shit on there, and the culture's completely fucked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just say that. It's like,
well, you see it through the film. You see that those banners around the place talking about work is good and work harder for the colony and
yeah,
things like that as well. And
but look, these are all things that, like, as a kid, you're just thinking, oh no, it's just Bugs rules. This is the rules they go by, and you don't realize this, like, this subtle critique of your own society. Like, even as a kid, right? Like, subconsciously, you're probably looking at it like, in the playground, you kind of it's your set up for life, isn't it? You're learning about hierarchies and uniforms and fitting in and knowing your place, and it's all that. Like, you sort of adapt or die. You don't veer off on your own. you sort of be in a group. So like, yeah, as an adult, you would definitely, and you do definitely see it of like as a satire of real world systems. But all this would just completely go over your head as a kid. It would not.
Oh, you wouldn't pick it up at all.
Yeah,
no, definitely not.
But there's something, I don't know what it is with the world, or it's a good or a bad thing. Probably a bad thing. But the satire actually feels sharper now than it did at the time. And I'm constantly battling with this question: is it because I'm of an age now, or is it because like the world itself has kind of doubled down on these dynamics? You know how like the idea of like technology is being brought in to make our lives easy, supposedly, but all it's done is kind of up the production quota. You know what I mean? Like it's just no. It just means they're trying to extract more out of us, and I think almost like Z is kind of like almost a millennial hero before millennials even existed. I think we can identify with him more.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I guess the world's only got more and more. Definitely, if you think corporate, like, and you think like half the time, what the fuck? You're just some cog in some huge machine. You're like, fuck, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah, well, on that as well. You know how they're saying like, oh, if you stop working Z, it's going to affect the production line, and the general's going to be very upset because we need to hit this target and deadline. And then it's kind of like saying, remember like you get those, oh, we need to hit targets by end of Q2, end of Q3, but then if we don't hit it, what's the big deal in the long run? Like, oh, so a couple of numbers don't go up on a screen or something, or someone doesn't get a machine or something. Like, it's like in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal, but they emphasize how big and important these things are. They're actually not,
and they're relying on you not to ask why.
Why exactly? Yeah, and then that's Z to it. Oh, Z's the only one kind of questioning. Everyone else is buying into it. I think even at one stage, even Jennifer Lopez's character Azteca, like she was saying, "Come on, Z, it's for you're doing it for the team. Look at outside. We're a great society. We're a great colony. And he's just kind of like, oh, I guess so. I'm insignificant, kind of thing. Like he's being cynical, and that's when I think that's that part when he comes part of the ball. Remember the big wrecking ball? Yeah. I guess it's a good kind of allegory analogy too of how with Antz as well. Like in general, how they do work together to build this greater society within themselves, within a colony. Like you always think one ant is so insignificant, but when they all band together and as like one big collective, they're actually like they can take on a lot bigger sizes than that they actually are.
Yeah. Oh no, it's cool, and they are impressive, but you do have to sort of you sit there and look, and you're like, well, fuck, what is the point? Like, what are they doing? You take that meta view, you're like, what's the fucking point of like any of it?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Like we can't. You couldn't fathom what they're even going to. But I guess that's even to us. And I guess even later in the film, there's that bit where they're at Insectopia, and you got those insects talking about like, oh, what if we're so insignificant and the world's much bigger? And it's like
having crack those fucking stoners or something. Yeah. Well, they're passing the crap around, wasn't it?
Yeah. But what they're saying is, oh man, like everything's we could be, there could be this wider world out there, and we could just be so insignificant. Like, oh, don't be an idiot. Like, you and your theories again. But it's like that. I always remember that scene. I'm like, oh, that's clever, and it's like how it could be just us, like looking out in this other universe. We could be that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, there's all these philosophical thoughts that this film's making you think.
Yeah. Also, too, like it's on. Like I love the way it does the transitional scenes to show you how, from our point of view in our world, then into their world. So like it has that when the movie opens with that cut scene of like New York City, and then it will it will then reshape like was it the Empire State Building into like was it a grass or something?
Yeah,
and then going down into the colony. Then the way the film ends too, where they're up in there on the ground surface, and then it zooms out to New York City and stuff. Yeah, it's little things like that. Yeah, it's very well done that way.
Yeah, and they're like this film that you're all engrossed in and stuff, and then you realize how insignificant it all is.
Well, you see too then how close Insectopia was to where they were in the location, and then the little was it the river they go across was actually like a little puddle or something. Like little things like that.
Yeah, attention to detail.
Yeah, it's very clever in that way.
Yeah. There's this even I guess we were talking about a little bit there on the caste system and everything, but a little bit on like systemic control as well. Like even things like little bits that poured out that stuck out to me was like colony life is kind of like even scheduled down to the minute. Like even when there's like they're in the bar and like 6:15 time to dance, and everyone's sort of dancing in
rhythm in the same fashion.
In rhythm and fashion, yeah. And I think this is like a parody of what was known as Taylorism, which came in by Frederick Winslow Taylor in the 1900s. So apparently, like this is obviously around the time of the just after the Second Industrial Revolution, where we've touched on this with bloody Harlan Ellison's Repent Harlequins at the TikTok.
Yeah, I was thinking that actually.
Yeah, where the essentially like companies used to sort of send efficiency experts into factories with stopwatches and clipboards, and they would they would sort of time every movement that a worker made. So like shoveling coal, laying bricks, hammering nails, and they would find like the one best way of doing the job. So the goal was to kind of maximize productivity, but it sort of stripped away autonomy. So this is the literal time where workers became cogs in a machine. But like, yeah, this used to be someone's job. These like efficiency experts would come out to companies and they would use them. It wouldn't just be in like, it would be in offices or it would be in factories. They would do that. Just sit there and watch people and write down. And efficiency experts, they were called.
Yeah, imagine the pressure. Bloody hell.
Yeah. And this was where time was becoming the obsession. But like, yeah, it's I kind of think it's critiquing that a little bit with like the the regimented schedule, like right down to leisure. So like, but also reinforcing like every movement in the society is controlled as well.
And it's kind of and also to using the bugbear or whatever it was, like, or we'll give them this little bit of an outlet to like let their they've got any stresses or anxieties, you fill them up with alcohol or whatever, just then drown their sorrows and then move on to the next thing. And
it's like like control, like there's even little elements of like thought policing I touched on before, where like even thinking about being a soldier, you could be thrown in jail. Like individuality sort of criminalized in this world.
Well, even the guy that brings up the concept of Insectopia, he's just treated, what a crazy, he's got PTSD.
Well,
he's
they
crazy old
man.
Don't they? Come on, you've had too many, mate. Move along, yeah.
You've been doing a bit much thinking, mate.
Yeah, and Weaver's kind of like, you sound crazy, old man. Like, what are you talking? Yeah. He's just like, be quiet before you get in trouble. Yeah, it's that kind of thing. Isn't it?
And then you start this fear of like, I think at its core, this film is about the actual importance of critical thinking.
Absolutely.
You had to like, it touches on little things here and there, but I think that's the thing it does. But you could see the fear of critical thinking to these like authoritarian regimes.
Like
just asking why. And one person questioning kind of shows that conformities, it's not inevitable. Like, and the minute like, they're like, if we don't do this, we're not gonna hit our quotas. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
But it's like everyone thinking like, what the fuck does it matter? We're the ones in power, and it starts getting into all this like Marxist stuff.
And, fucking trade unions and bloody other stuff.
Yeah.
I think as you were touching on too, just the struggle of like conformity versus individualism, right? Where similar to the Harlan Ellison's the Harlequin, Repent Harlequin. So in that tale where the Harlequin's disrupting the flow of the society and breaking the traditions and the norms of time efficiency. Where in this one it's more about Z's kind of like he doesn't want to wreck the society, but he doesn't feel he belongs in it. So he kind of needs to venture out and find something better.
He's like an accidental hero, isn't he?
Yeah, he just stumbles into it.
Because like conformity is sort of framed as survival in this. But like I guess if you're thinking like ant colonies, it's it's the way it is, and they're not questioning it. So.
No, they're all. Yeah, if you're a worker ant, you just. We see ants when you watch them in real life how they're all following each other in that circle where they're getting the food or they're going back, but there's always in a line. There's no, and when you do break that, they get. Apparently, I think they sense each other from the back. There's either a smell or their little tentacles on the top of their heads, or whatever it is. They follow the previous because they're blind, I think, and they just follow the previous thing. So if the chain gets broken, that's when they freak out and can't go anywhere. So it's kind of like they're
amazing.
Amazing creatures, actually. Yeah, just been doing a bit of research on them, but yeah, like Z's kind of trying to like. As you said, he's kind of the accidental hero, and I guess the only time he has an awakening is when he sends Princess Bala, right? When she comes in,
yeah.
And this brings another thing too with the class system and the caste and class system of this world as well. How the elites are up in the little echelon of the ant colony, with all the generals and with the army higher ups and stuff, and even in that little world, she's sick of that because it's all monotonous and boring, repetitive. There's no. She's got a life of leisure. She has her roles and her duty, but then at the same time, it's nothing enthralling. It's not her choice by design, and she's been forced into an arranged marriage with the general because then it helps unify the two of them and strengthen the colony even more on paper. And it's obviously that he's using her for political purposes, and she's just being told what to do by her mum. So. And you can see why she's trying to break out of that conformity as well by venturing with the with the workers and with the peasants down below.
Well, that kind of gets us on very nicely to the probably the greatest villain and the greatest character. Well, my favorite would be General Mandible.
Oh yeah, he's definitely the best character, isn't he? Yeah, Jen Hackman, bloody brilliant actor. Too.
Oh yeah, he is, and his utilitarian logic and sacrifice. When he's talking like he's a complex villain, like in the sense, like we talked about this before, how like a lot of the times the evil character's evil for the sake of being evil. You don't know why. The scariest thing about this one is how layered he is and his motives. Yet he's been voted into a system that we perceive he's been voted into. Well, I guess it's a caste system, but he's like kind of used the system.
He's rise to the top,
to the top, and he's now abusing that power. Like and now this starts bringing in like Cold War logic and first strike mentality, and it's
well, he's a bit. You wouldn't say he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, but it's kind of like he reminds me like a lot of Palpatine. In Star Wars, like he's just manipulating, creating things, scheming behind the
Palpatine pre-Disney,
of course,
because obviously. Somehow he returned.
Well, to be fair, somehow somehow he got in power as well. We don't know.
Well, he was fair.
No, it's just No, I'm sorry, I don't recognize Star Wars post Rogue One. That's all dead to me after that. although I'll have to give Andor credit. That was brilliant. I'll give him credit there, but that's it. Anyway, stay on target. Is it another Star Wars reference?
Yeah, there's that reference from a good Star Wars film.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, as you said, like he's just such a multi-layered character and scheming, like Machiavellian in a way, where he obviously has to portray the tough guy, but then he's also being a politician in the background. He's not just a general that's like, like MacArthur, just blow them up, nuke them. It's not the stereotypical one. He's actually playing mind games and manipulating, and as I said, scheming behind the scenes and finding like ways to manipulate people to serve his agenda and what he wants out of the society going forward.
Well, yeah, but see, he uses like to talk to him is like the body politic metaphor that he uses. Like the very first thing. I think what's his speech when he's talking to the ants about look, the very fact that he uses the kind of I guess it's established that the termite enemy that he calls them have sort of moved near the ants.
They're mobilized, yeah.
They're mobilized, but they've not attacked them. They're just near them. But it's like he's sort of talking to the queen. He's like, oh, no, we need to strike them. We need to strike them before they strike us. That that real Cold War mentality. Yeah. That paranoia.
It was like that scene in Failsafe where he goes, well, even though the bombs have gone off by mistake or they're on target there, let's just we'll strike first anyway.
Yeah, if we don't, they will.
They will. Yeah.
And he's sort of like, I think the queen sort of says, no, we've always lived in harmony with them. What's the way? Oh, no, they're going to attack. If we don't attack,
She goes, why would they attack us? It makes no sense. We've got a treaty in place. She goes, no, they see us as vulnerable. They see us as weak. We're this and that. We need to strike first.
Like fucking Curtis LeMay, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's insane, isn't it? Oh, it obviously must be parodying that.
But it's like all this like Cold War brinksmanship and all this. I mean, it would have been only eight years since the Cold War ended, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've got like, so you've got all that happening. You're like, fucking hell, this is crazy. And then so he's riled them up, and then when he's telling the speech, and what is he? I think he says what like one ant is insignificant to the colony, and it's all about the good of the colony. And you start all this like fucking Soviet logic and stuff.
No, one of my favorite parts too is when with Christopher Walken's character Colonel Cutter, and he's telling him about, they're talking about the plans about doing this thing. He goes, oh, make sure when we go to war, we send all the loyalists to the Queen's units that are the ones that attack the termites.
Yeah.
So he's wiping out. It's kind of like the Night of Long Knives in a way, portraying that where he's wiping out all his political enemies or people that could be.
He's playing 4D chess.
4D chess. He's killing two birds with one stone. Getting the perfect false flag operation. Also killing out people that could like question him down the track as well. Like it's fucking, as you said, like 4D chess, like unbelievable.
Yeah, and this is where like I guess these guys are expendable now. This is where you sort of we already talked about the termite battle.
The cannon fodder.
The cannon fodder, and they're just sent off to their deaths, and you're questioning why, and it's glorious but sad, and you just like, and you're like, God, this guy's like, what a complex character this fella is. But the fact that like, I already talked about, like, he uses that like body politic metaphor. So he's always like, he sees the colony as one organism. Individuals only matter as parts of the whole. So like, this is where you start bringing in like fucking eugenics and purity, which we see later. When he's like, again, he plans to wipe those out, or he plans to wipe the workers out later in the movie to make like a pure colony or like a strong colony. It's like fucking, this is like echoing like Nazi racial fucking purity and ethnic cleansing and
eugenics and stuff. Yeah,
eugenics. Like he's even shit. It would have only been, I think the war in Kosovo would have actually started in I think 98, 99, but the Bosnian War would have only finished in 1995 with
Oh, it's definitely fresh in the minds.
Yeah, with Milosevic, he was like bloody cleansing he was sort of standing up for all Serbians, so he said, and he was cleansing like Bosnian Croatian Muslims. I mean, I think there were hundreds of thousands of people ethnically cleansed. I inverted using quote marks there at this time. So it would have been fresh in the mind of a lot of people. And you're you're thinking in a kid's film.
Yeah,
it's this like sort of fascist leader. Like it's wow. He's so different from your typical cartoon villain. He's not the fucking twirling his moustache or anything.
Yeah, and he's not like evil for the sake of being evil. Like, I mean, he obviously is, but then he's more methodical. He's more clever about it. You can see why he's doing it. Like, there's a reason behind it. It's not like he as said, like bad. He's just a bad guy. Like, he's like, no. And from his worldview and his point of view is that no, we need to get rid of these workers. They're insignificant. They're inferior to what the rest of the soldier ants I like and who are loyal to me are. I want to cleanse them all, wipe them all out, and start a new, better colony going forward.
Well, yeah, and it's why like that sort of body politic metaphor is like straight out of the fascist leader playbook.
Oh yeah,
the one that like if we think of our whole colony as a body, these are the cancer, so they need to be wiped out. They need to be cleansed, and it's like don't worry about that. Like you think of you're talking about we talked about Fatherland the other week. You're talking about sort of Lebensraum and the Slavs and the Jewish for the inferior races that are dragging our great German body down. They need to be cleansed. They need to be wiped out for the health of the German people, for the health of the body. It's all that sort of rhetoric that's coming out. Yeah, as you say, like eugenics is coming into it. You're fucking.
I thought I was watching a kids' film.
I'm shocked by it.
Yeah,
but also like, God, that is clever.
Oh, it is. Yeah. No, as I said, like just watching it as an adult, you just like, man, I remember just watching this film, just waiting for the action sequences and the silly one-liners. I'm like, fuck, it's got this multi-layered bloody critique of capitalism, communism, and fascism, and has elements of Nazism. He's like, what's going on? Like, I'm not expecting this.
And
like,
you've done it in an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, and it makes sense, and it's like not like satire to the point where it's like ridiculous or anything. It's actually complex in a way. Yeah.
Well, the scary thing is it's referencing all the way through. It's probably referencing things that have actually happened.
Yeah, exactly. All through the 20th century, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sort of, at parts it's funny, at parts it's innocent, at parts it's sad.
Yeah. Well, it goes from that, then it goes to like, you know, a goofy steam with, as you said, with Z, but then also like a love story, then also back to classism, and then back to like, you know, critiquing, you know, workers rising up, and you're like, oh, okay, now we're back to this now.
Yeah, and despite all that shit going on, it doesn't really feel overwhelming, does it? It flows pretty well.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, at no point do you think, oh, fucking come on.
Yeah, or at no point were you thinking like, oh, I know what they're trying to do, or I know what they're trying to preach at me, or what they're trying to, the messaging behind it. It's like, well, no, it would make sense in this world being portrayed because this happened because of that, and this, you know what I mean? Like, there would be a reason why the workers would revolt, and then at this point, and why then this scene would happen. You know, it all makes sense and it flows well, as you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, like even with the workers revolting as well, you know, and they're all protesting, and then Mandible stands up. And he kind of paints, you know, they're all celebrating Z, but then he paints Z now as, oh, he's a kidnapper, he's a terrorist, he's sort of...
Yeah, he's kidnapped our princess, and where, you know, you praise this guy, but where's he now? You know,
he's controlling the narrative now, isn't he?
He's left us for this fantasy, was it down the...
Insectopia.
Yeah, Insectopia, exactly. And then kind of like goes, look, I appreciate the hard work you guys, I'm giving you a day off now, kind of thing, like, yeah.
Yeah, and it mirrors how, like, you know, those groups, like, you kind of like, they cave in, and the minute they sort of get a little bit of what they want, if you would have just held on, you know that he needs you more than you need him. But it's that kind of like that desperation, like, oh yes, we got something. And
or was it that little like sugar hit they got? You know, like, you know, it's like it might be great in the moment, but then it ends up being really nothing in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, it's like that little hit they get. But yeah, then you said that they're so close to like getting what they want full time, but then they just kind of get blindsided.
They sort of settle for it. Yeah,
exactly. No, it is a great scene too, and then revolting, and they're throwing the pickaxes in there, and then the foreman comes in and goes, come on, let's get working. He goes, well, I don't want to work. And he's like a robot. I can't compute what you just said. Like, what you just, yeah, because he's so indoctrinated.
What do they say? Why? And he's I don't know.
Yeah. It is great, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is.
No, I do like that foreman character. He's funny.
Yeah, he really is. He really is. And there's that sort of fucking, like, he's at that nerdy sort of respect kind of thing. Like, he's like, oh, you got a little bit of power, that kind of character.
Oh, absolutely. And
like Gareth from The Office.
Yeah. He's actually like him, isn't he? Yeah. And also too, you just know that he's like sucked up to the right people to get that role. And he has nothing to do.
But that's as good as it's going to be for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you said, like little power goes to their head, and they think they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. Just on Insectopia, like, I guess they imagine it, like, I suppose it could be anything. Like, it is in this world. It's, you know, we see it as a garbage, it's a tip, it's a
overflow garbage bin.
Overflow garbage bin. But I think the idea, all right, yes, I suppose technically, you know, those insects would.
Well, I guess too, another reason why it was so like a utopia for them is because there's food everywhere. Where before, food was very much given rations per day. Yeah.
There's food everywhere, but there's autonomy. You know, they can do what they want. I guess the fact that Insectopia is probably an idea. It could have been anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you see when it zooms out, you see other areas. But it's the fact that, like, it's just getting out of that archaic structure that they were in, you know.
Well, that's why they first thought that the picnic scene was Insectopia with the food and the beautiful product placement of Mountain Dew and Pepsi and stuff.
And are they Reebok shoes as well?
Reebok shoes, yeah. That's one of the first things I noticed. The cynical me as a dog going, oh, there it is, you know, yeah. As a kid, you're like, oh, that's cool, yeah. No, I think it's a great scene too, because how many times of, like, you know, you can imagine we're out in the fields and you'll see like insects go near your food, you're like, oh, fuck off, or something like that. And you're like, oh, like from their point of view, that'd be terrifying, and you can understand why they're going near it as well.
Yeah.
No, I like the scene too when she gets caught in the gum, and then the penny comes along and he goes, oh, who the hell is that? You know, the head of was it President is it Lincoln? I think it is.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and then they flip the coin away, but. Yeah, you said like the concept of Insectopia, how there's no time structure, there's no quotas, there's no food rations, there's no you have to be here at 6 o'clock for the dance or whatever it was, or they could be themselves, and then also they're if you're in these like fascist societies like that where you don't mix with other nations or other cultures, where they're mixing with other bugs and seeing different unique concepts and ideas and stuff.
Yeah, and everything's sort of chaotic, but they're just embracing it, and that is freedom. It's like when you go on holiday to like a third world country or something, and you realize like, like it was like I always think about Vietnam when I went there, and I remember being on this. Actually, I touched on it when the place where I saw Fatherland. I was on that, and I remember I was just driving a motorbike somewhere. And I seen these fellas having a beer, and they were working on a building site, and they were it must have been like 1:00 in the afternoon, and they're all just sitting there drinking, and they like, come over, invite me, and I'm thinking like, oh, all right,
a bit sketchy or something.
Bit sketchy,
but yeah.
And I went over. I ended up drinking with them for like 5 hours, and and I tried to give them money, and they wanted nothing from me, and they were offended at the fact I wanted to give them money because I'm thinking of it from a capitalist point of view.
Oh, West, yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm like thinking, well, like, God, I don't know what you'd be earning, but it wouldn't be a hell of a lot. And like, and I've drank like, God knows how much your beer. Just take the equivalent of like fucking $20 or something.
Yeah.
But no. They offended at the very fact that I would offer that. It is just different ideals. But it always stuck with me, like, it was just chaos. But like, they're probably happier than I think we would ever be because they saw life in the right way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all the rest of that shit doesn't matter. Like, we can have all the nicest things, and we can have all I guess the healthcare and the nice house and all the technology in the world, but it's kind of like it doesn't matter unless, like, look what we got to do to get it, Like, and I'm not saying I'm ever going to change that because this is the way it is, and I'm probably going to stay in my comfort zone.
Yeah,
but kind of made me think of that.
Well, it's also too, the more you get, like, say, like whether it's income and status or whatever it is, the more you get higher up, the more like little things start to bother you more. Like something like so insignificant, like I don't know, say like, I think we talked about like, a couple of episodes ago we talked about, my Amazon package was meant to arrive today, but then it's coming in 2 days now, and that's really pissed me off. It's like, well, in the grand scheme of things, is that really a big deal? Like, it's not that big of an inconvenience, but now it becomes a big deal because we haven't got really else big in our lives going on because we're so caught up in our own little,
And I guess we've got more to lose as well.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's a bit like that. I always find now, like, but then in a place like this Insectopia and then the place you're talking Vietnam, where it's just kind of like everyone's kind of, oh no, like, we're just going about our lives, it's not a big deal, no inconvenience. Yeah, get food when we want or whatever, or just chill.
Well, it's almost like this. Actually, this is how it should be.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I would question, then would they get bored in that, utopia because they're I guess it is an allegory for humans, obviously. This film, is insect based, but would they get bored because there's nothing really to strive for in Insectopia? Like, after a while, would you get sick of that? I mean, it's great for like, maybe a holiday or a couple of weeks, but after that, okay, what am I building now? Especially too, they've been programmed to be like ants. Yeah, at the end of the film, you kind of think that Bala and Z are going to be, the de facto, maybe like king and queen, or president, and Mrs. President, whatever they want to call it, democracy thing, whatever they want to go for.
Oh, I don't have to under democracy. It is Hollywood.
It is Hollywood, exactly. But it feels like they're building a new society, better, where it's more equal for everyone. But they're still striving for something where in Insectopia they would just be a bit, we're just lying around doing. After a while, you get bored of that.
Orgies and stuff.
Having orgies and stuff, yeah. I mean, it's not bloody Omelas, where there's no pain or suffering or anything, but yeah. And I always think too, because I remember you mentioning too, obviously a insect's life is 8 weeks or whatever it was, and then how long will that? Because the Insectopia is overflowed rubbish. How long will that stay there before the council cleans it up?
Yeah.
So then, this whole concept will go away. Then I don't know, just food for thought. Yeah, I think the more exciting thing for the end of the film is that. Yeah, they've broken the shackles and chains of the fascist / communist society, whatever it is, whatever they're trying to go for. I think they're going for a bit of everything. Yeah. But and then creating a new path for tomorrow where, the ants and the other workers and the elites all come together and become more with one and more fairer kind of system.
But it doesn't really speculate. It doesn't really confirm that, does it?
No.
It just kind of like, we had a couple of kids and we did this and blah, 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 and it sort of zooms out and...
Well, then it puts everything in perspective, right? In the grand scheme of things, where they're just insignificant, like showing how ants are so small and insignificant compared to what we are in our world.
Yeah.
Then, as you said, what are we to the universe?
Yeah. You end up. It's some pretty philosophical questions come off the back of this.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it kind of like also like kind of parodies and satires the American dream a bit, doesn't it, in the film to a certain degree? Like that, or like a bit of a warped view of it where because the American dream was always if you come from war-torn Europe or war-torn somewhere else, or you can be a peasant somewhere, but then you come to America and then you could be if you work hard, then you can be like the Joneses and have your own family home with a backyard, the picket fence, and achieve your dreams. It has that kind of messaging to it, isn't it? Kind of like parodying it in a way.
What scenes are you thinking of?
Oh, the end with Z and stuff. He gets the girl.
I see. Yeah.
He fulfills the dream. Despite all odds, he rises to the occasion and against the oppressed system and came up on top and achieved the ultimate dream. The American. That's kind of like an allegory for the American dream in a way, where a lot of people view it that way.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. Maybe stretching the bow a bit there, but
another thing with the ending as well, and I think what does he see? Like, I guess he chooses to return to colony life, and he says something along the lines of, "This time, I'm still the same, but this time I chose it." And I wonder, is that because he's been out and seen what's in the big wild world, and
he's content with who he is now?
Or he was scared of what he saw and thought, "No, actually, you know what? I'm good here." There's always that thing with that travel broadens the mind. Like I always think, like, even myself, I never appreciated Australia until I left, and I came back thinking, actually, you know what? Despite obviously what some of our listeners might think, this actually is the best country in the world, and I'm quite lucky. But I had to go away to realize that.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, if it's the same with, like, Z in that sense, like, this time I chose it because I went out there, I did this, I saw Insectopia, and I went through all these trials and tribulations, and I thought, actually, you know what, it's pretty good here.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think also too, it's more, as you said, he had the choice of doing it. Now he's got the freedom to choose. I can leave, or I can stay, or I can do what I want, kind of thing. That was he felt like he was just this, this overworked cog, doing this job that had no purpose or meaning behind it. Where now
there was no meaning, and maybe he's now seen the meaning.
But now he has a meaning because now they're building a new society now after, right? Because the old one got flooded. So I think too that he'd have a more significant role to play in the future society of the colony with his we assume he gets married to Bala, or he has relations with her because he has kids with her and stuff.
He's about 2 million kids or something.
He takes it easy. See how it goes, see how it pans out. So.
Yeah. But I wonder, what is that in this new society? What does it mean for the worker ants? Does revolution? How often do we see revolution and things change, but nothing changes for the people at the bottom?
Yeah, exactly. That's the great lesson in things.
They're still ants.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I guess it leaves that ambiguous, right?
Yeah. Well, of course, it's a kids' movie. You assume it's a happy ending and that kind of stuff. But then, the greater question is, what happens after that? And
nothing probably changes.
Where do they move to now? Because now that they're out of their old home got flooded. So where do they go now? Like, just start from scratch again.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Well, that's Antz. That definitely took us to some places I didn't think we were going to go.
Yeah, nice.
And ask some questions and reference some things that I just didn't expect to reference in a kids' film. But there we go.
I asked ChatGPT to give me a summary of what the social commentary and satire of it was, and this is what it said. So it goes, in short, Antz parodied fascism, communism, propaganda, classism, and corporate conformity, while also serving as a DreamWorks counter-statement to Disney's global optimism. Doesn't that perfectly sum it up?
That's fucking AI.
I know, it's scary, isn't it? But just reading that, like, a film that went for an hour and 20 has talked about these core elements that have, that plagued the 20th century and brought it out in this kids' film. You're just like...
And sort of
articulated it well and
showed everyone that you don't have to accept this from Disney. The animations can do this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also too the fact that it didn't like say one was better than the other. It's kind of like critiquing all elements of it, and how these kind of like I guess at the end of the day, like if you go down either ways of fascism, communism, and ultra like capitalism on steroids, that these things happen, and where dictators get into control, and a totalitarian society is formed.
Well, it inevitably ends up with someone having too much power.
Yeah.
Whether it be the free market we're in, but perhaps now the corporations have too much power.
Yeah, exactly.
Either way, I guess human nature will always find a way. We will always find a way to take it to extremes, won't we?
Absolutely, yeah. And once again, our kids' movies are making me question these things.
So if you haven't seen that one in a while, I would definitely recommend giving that another watch.
Yeah, absolutely. It's on Netflix at the moment. So I think it's on a couple of other streaming services too.
Yeah.
So yeah, the good thing is that you have to go Disney Plus for this one. So Andrew, what can viewers expect on next week's episode?
Is it Harrison Bergeron by Kurt Vonnegut?
Yes, another Kurt Daddy's in there.
Oh, I got into Kurt Daddy territory.
I know. Yeah, I think it's Harris. Is it Bergeron? I think, but I'll have to double check that. But yeah, this is interesting because I've read another stuff by Kurt Vonnegut called Slaughterhouse-Five. So that was a very interesting book. I remember doing that in school actually. So I'm very fascinated. I'm intrigued to see what to go into this one because I believe this one's about it's set in like the year 2081 in a dystopian US future where everyone's treated equally. So by law, no one can be smarter, stronger, faster, or more beautiful than anyone else.
Okay.
And the government forces equality by using technology, apparently. So,
what year did it come out?
It came out in October of 1961.
Okay.
So, yeah, what you're thinking, this is when Kennedy was president, just elected, heading towards the Bay of Pigs incident and stuff. So, yeah, interesting to see what he was referencing and critiquing for the time.
Yeah, it could have been a lot of stuff. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is conformity and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm sure. Look, I haven't read any of Kurt Vonnegut any of Kurt Daddy, so we'll. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, and it should be an interesting one. Yeah, and as always, guys, you can follow us on our socials on Tumblr and Instagram at DystopediaPod. You can shoot us an email at info@dystopediapodcast.com. We're also on YouTube under Dystopedia Podcasts. Like, subscribe, comment, all those great things. And on behalf of myself and Andrew, we'll catch you next time.
See you next week.